സ്ട്രെസ് അഥവാ പിരിമുറുക്കം വനിതാ ലോകത്ത് വളരെയധികം കൂടി വരുന്നുവെന്ന് വൈദേശികവും ഭാരതീയവുമായ ഒരുപാട് പഠന റിപ്പോർട്ടുകൾ വ്യക്തമാക്കുന്നു. സ്ത്രീകൾക്ക് പിരിമുറുക്കം വല്ലാതെ കൂടുന്നുണ്ടോ? ഒരുപക്ഷെ കൂടുന്നുവെങ്കിൽ അതിൻ്റെ കാരണം സ്ത്രീകളുടെ ജീവശാസ്ത്രമാണോ അതോ മാറുന്ന സാമൂഹിക ഘടനയാണോ? പിരിമുറുക്കം സ്ത്രീകളിൽ എത്രത്തോളം സ്വാധീനമുണ്ടാക്കുന്നു, എന്തുകൊണ്ട് പിരിമുറുക്കം കൂടുന്നു എന്ന് അന്വേഷിക്കണം മൈൻഡ് വാച്ച്. ഈ അന്വേഷണത്തിന് ഗവേഷണ തലത്തിൽ തന്നെ അർത്ഥം നൽകിക്കൊണ്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഒപ്പമുള്ള അതിഥി അമേരിക്കയിലെ ന്യൂയോർക്കിലെ ക്ലിനിക്കൽ സൈക്കോളജിസ്റ്റായ ഡോക്ടർ അമി കോളിയുമായി അന്വേഷണത്തിൻ്റെ ഭാഗത്ത് വയ്ക്കും. Dr. Amy, it's often said that, women are more stressed than men. Do you think it's a global phenomenon?
I think based on studies and my own private practice,
Right.
that I think men and women both experience stress, but I think they express it and experience it differently.
Okay.
I think that men have stress too, but they just don't express it the way women do.
Maybe it's because of social stereotypes.
Yes.
That's what you feel.
The socialization of
But
men.
I've just read a couple of articles recently published, and those articles say that women are more stress sensitive or more susceptible to stress than men.
That may be true. The American Psychological Association published a study, and I think the main difference on stress between men and women is that women will report feeling like they want to cry when they're under stress, or feel sad, and express more physical symptoms like headache, upset stomach. Men do not. And I think from my own private practice, most of my patients are women, and I think that's because they want to talk about it. They want to talk about their problems. Men tend to want to...
They swallow it.
Yes. There's a book by a social linguistics professor, Deborah Tannen, who wrote a book called You Just Don't Understand. And it's really about the way men and women differ in the way they express themselves, the way they communicate. And one of the things she says in that book is that women want to connect to people, want to connect. Men want to exchange information all the time. That's how they relate most. Whereas women want to connect to other people and other women especially.
Maybe women are more experiential and men are more information processors.
I think so. And I think that also plays a role in terms of, men being focused on stress in the work life. It's all about, they can talk a lot about their jobs very effortlessly. Women want to talk about relationships.
True.
Women want to talk about their friends, about their children.
And another thing, it's a documented fact, perhaps substantiated with lots of studies and clinical practices, that women are perhaps more susceptible to stress than men. That's number one. Number two, and people have tried to look at the factors, the reasons why it happens so. And there have been a wide variety of factors proposed, like it would range from biological through psychological to social structure factors, why perhaps women are more stressed up. And what do you think? Do you think that it's mostly biological? Because there have been some studies strongly suggesting that something to do with the neurotransmitters, and there's a process called internalization as a neuronal process by which men could probably contain the stress experience, but women probably they're not having the internalization process, in the language of neuroscience, hence they tend to experience more stress. Would you say that is it something to do with biology?
I feel like I don't have the information to comment on that. I think that, again, I think there are a lot of individual differences. I think women we do have different biologies, and I'm not going to discount that. That's true. Women also have different hormones than men.
That's what. And neurotransmitters.
Well, I think we all have the same neurotransmitters. We all have acetylcholine and norepinephrine and serotonin, all of those things. My belief...
what I mean is that there's something called the corticotrophin releasing factor. That this particular biological marker, corticotrophin releasing factor, is probably there's a difference between men and women. That's what is often hypothesized.
I don't know this hypothesis.
That's one thing. Second, would you say that if such a difference between men and women exists, is it something to do with the social structure? Because is that the reason why in modern, so-called modern society, women are more stressed up than maybe the men or in their past counterparts? Say, for example, society has undergone lots of social changes. As a result of that, there have been some subtle difference, some changes. Say, like for example, the support system, whatever the women had in the past, is not there so much from the family. Number one, family structure function has undergone radical changes in the present globalized society. Second aspect, women as a workforce now comparing with the past.
Yes.
Second aspect. Third aspect, even the family issues like broken family and child rearing practice, everything has changed. And these factors, these changes in the social structures, perhaps makes them to have more stress proneness.
I would agree with that. I mean, my sort of belief is that environment affects biology.
Okay.
In other words, that if you experience a stressful event, it's going to affect your neurotransmitters. It's going to deplete your serotonin, and you're going to feel depressed or anxious or whatever. And so I think these environmental changes have definitely impacted on women and how they manage stress. However, I could also say that I think that women entering the workforce has also had a very positive effect on women. Yes, in terms of their sense of independence and self-esteem and ability to support themselves, the self-reliance. I think those are all, they all can be very positive for the way a woman feels about herself. So I think that's the other side of that.
Another important thing is that if I ask you to list the major stresses of women in the present day society.
The stressors?
Yeah.
Well, I think
the major stresses as far as the present society is concerned for women.
For women, well, the main stressors for anyone would be things like death of a spouse, losing your job, financial problems, marriage, pregnancy. If you want to be specific to women.
These are the classical ways.
Yeah, those are classic.
Homes are classified these various kinds of, with various kinds of distress units and all. I totally agree with, like death is 100 and marriage is 50 units, so and so for the scale still remember. I appreciate that's there. But
you think there's something special to women?
No, I'm not like, for example, it could be like one important factor that comes to my mind. In fact, as well, I know in the Kerala context is that suppose if, women or ladies, when they are to travel night, if they reach maybe in the railway station or bus stand at night, maybe at 10 or 11, if they are not without, support of other ladies or men, I have seen that many women, they're pretending as if talking to someone else over telephone, where they are because scared that, there could be an attack from someone else.
Absolutely. Women feel vulnerable.
That's what.
Yes.
The threat of attack or, in violence and these kinds of things are probably increasing the stress factors in the present society.
Yes. But does that mean that society has become more violent?
That's what exactly. Exactly. And also there is something called cyberphobia, like women are now here, they are much more scared. I mean, there is a reality for the fear also, I won't call it as phobia, that in the social media, the entire thing may be manipulated and morphing, all those kind of stuff comes up. And that could ruin the name and distorted picture about themselves.
But men are not afraid of this?
They are not so much as women because the social perception on men and women on this aspect differ.
So perhaps here in this society, women are more worried about their reputations on social media than the men are.
Very true. Very true. I do not know about the U.S. experience, but this is about Indian experience. I'm telling you.
That's not something that I'm aware of or that I've heard or that in terms of anecdotally in my private practice, I don't hear that. No.
But if I ask you, in our current scenario, in the present world, has there been any new stressor, different kind of stressor for women? Would you answer negative or in affirmative?
Over the period of what? Maybe currently in the last 10, 20 years?
Yeah, that's what exactly.
Okay. I would have to say, in terms of like my private practice, that what I hear a lot is a lot of sexual abuse of women, sexual trauma.
Okay.
But that's hard to say whether that's more recent or if that's ongoing or that it's self-selecting. You know, the patients that come to me are
Okay.
obviously in distress, and a lot of them are going to obviously have these kinds of problems and have mental illness as a result. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I do hear a lot of women who are dealing with stress related to histories of sexual abuse.
Okay.
Yes.
So, you mean to say that these abuses from strangers or from intimate relations, like date abuse, date rape sort of thing?
It can be anything. I mean, it can be incest.
Okay.
It can be. I had a patient who was violently raped at the age of 16 by just people who entered her family's home, and yes, so it was random violence. It wasn't anyone she knew, but she's continues to suffer from that trauma. You know, she still has. There's, I think I mentioned at the beginning that women tend to express their signs of stress differently than men. That they tend to somaticize more. They talk about physical symptoms like headaches, stomach ache. I know this woman, when she comes in and she's under a lot of stress, she complains about her body all the time.
Right.
And I think women tend to do that more than men.